Hi everyone, it's Jan with What You Make It, and I have really enjoyed participating in Papertrey Inc.'s Make It Monday challenge for the last week. The challenge was to create a collage with stamping, and I'm showing you a couple of the cards that I made, and this is the last one that I've done, and I thought I would show you the process of making this collage card. I started because I wanted to do some French country themed items, and I went and did a little research and found that a really strong blue, gold, and red are kind of the iconic colors, and sunflowers are very much an iconic image within French country home decor and that sort of thing. And so I pulled out the stamp set that is, I believe it's Sunflower Bouquet, and I stamped it, and I have recorded all of the coloring that I did on this, but I'm just showing you the last little bit of it here as I just kind of talk to you a little bit. If you'd be interested in seeing me color the whole image, then leave me a message down below in the comments, and I'll be happy to put that tutorial together. But as you can see, I'm making a very strong focal image for my card, and that's one of the things in creating a collaged, a card that you use collage imagery in, is that you really do need a strong focal image. And there's a few other principles, and I've done a little video that talks about visual weight. So if you haven't seen that one, you might want to go check that out. But once I had my focal image done, I wanted to start doing my collage stamping, and I'm starting with this chicken wire stamp, and I'm using Distress ink in antique linen, and you can see it's very faint, but once we get everything going on this card, there's actually going to be quite a bit of stamping to create this background. You'll see why I'm letting some things be heavier and some things be a little bit lighter. So I'm taking the script stamp and I'm using frayed burlap. I'm taking up the intensity of the color just a little bit more. So the chicken wire and the script don't have the same visual weight. Again, you might want to check out my video where I kind of explain that concept a little bit more. So I wanted to bring in the sunflowers into the background. So I took this sunflower, simple sunflower, and looked to see if the color I was using, which is Harvest Gold, I believe, would actually show up if I did a stamping off technique, and I realized it was going to be light enough just to stamp it with full strength. So I'm adding multiple sunflowers, realizing that I need to fill in some space. They, because of their color, they're going to not be real obtrusive. They're not going to overwhelm you, but you'll certainly get the feeling of the sunflowers. And you'll notice that now I'm going back in and adding a couple more of these little areas with the chicken wire. And that's because when I had done the stamping, I realized I needed to ground the sunflowers. They needed to not be floating in space. So using that image to do that really helped. Now I'm adding some leaves, and again, I don't want them to be so strong that they overpower the other elements, and so I am doing the stamping off technique. I'm actually doing two techniques. I'm using simply chartreuse and then adding just a little bit of the edge of ripe avocado to it so that you get that dual tone in the stamps. Added the small stamps and the small leaves, and again, because I stamped them off, they're not overpowering. When I'm doing this kind of thing, I always go back and put the focal image, make sure that nothing I'm doing is overpowering that. I'm adding the centers of the sunflowers in walnut stain, again using the stamp off technique so that they're there. They're clearly, probably because of the centers and the color, they're going to be the most visual or the most dominant image on this background, but they don't detract from overall. Still felt like I had some open spaces that I needed to fill in, and I also wanted to bring in some of that blue. I knew that I wanted to have a little bit of blue in the background so that it would tie that main image into the collage. And so again, I'm using a stamping off technique just to keep it very subtle and a little more under control. You're still going to see it. You're still going to see that there's blue there, but you won't be totally overpowered with it. And you can fill in space with this kind of technique. So again, I stop and I look, and I realized the one thing that still needed to be grounded was the picture, and I have a little stamp that I'm going to use to ground that. But first, I needed to actually figure out what the size of the cover was going to be, and so I worked on my layers, figuring out how much of the collage I was actually going to use, and then I came back and added the shadow for where I'm going to place the picture with the sunflower. So I'm just layering up my elements here. I wanted just a little bit of blue, and it's really only 1/8 of an inch bigger than the actual front panel. So that gives me a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Still can see that red gingham, which again is a prominent element in French country decor. So we get all of those elements in there, and that red will kind of help pull the red out from the picture that the sunflowers are in. So I'm just going to layer this up, and you notice I haven't put the picture on yet. I'm going to do a little bit of collage on the inside as well. On this particular one, this card, I put the sentiment inside. On a couple of them that I have over on my blog, I actually put the sentiment on the outside, so you may want to go check that out. You can see I'm just using some tone on tone on the inside. If you're going to do collaging on the inside, you want it to not be so overwhelming that it takes away from whatever your handwritten note is. And I wanted a little bit of red, so I'm just putting a small touch of red with that heart. Now that we have all our stamping done, we can add the picture of sunflowers to the front, and that's our card. If you're interested in learning more about the visual weight, check out my other video. It will go into it a little bit more. And as always, be sure and come visit me on my blog, because I oftentimes share things there that I don't actually create tutorials for here. Thanks for coming. I hope you have a great week, and be sure and save some time for creative play.